Hi everyone, it's Shell from Shell Crochet. Welcome to my October 2022 crochet update. Let's talk whips and finished objects. It's Shell. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to anybody who's new. And this podcast is my monthly update of my makes. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave me a comment. You can also contact me through my email, shellcrochet@gmail.com, or you can contact me on Instagram. I'm not on there a lot, but I am there as Shell Crochet. Anyway, let's talk what happened in October. And before we go any further, I am wearing the corner to corner poncho I made in July of 2021 with Carrie Penny Crochet Along for sort of the Halloween in July that we did. And it was fun and I love it. And it's the time of year for it, so it's on today. I don't know if I'll last the whole podcast in it because it's still rather warm. But I wanted to have some fun Halloween stuff going on for the fact that it's October the 29th today and we're almost at Halloween. And I love this. It's very soft and it's got sparkle and it's got the Halloween colors and also colors I love in it. So picking up from where we left off last time, let's talk about the Daisy Granny Square poncho. And I have a special guest and a special clip for you right here. Hey guys, so this is Nicole. And this is Nicole's poncho, her birthday poncho. She's gonna do a little twirl, doing a little live modeling just for everybody. You can see my temperature blankets on the couch. Yeah, so she was volunteering. Hey, finished 4-point Daisy poncho. Happy birthday, Nicole. Anyway, let's talk about that poncho you just saw. It was amazing to finish it off and how much she loved it. I've gotten such awesome feedback from the birthday girl Nicole, as well as some of her colleagues at work and her hubby. She has been calling it a work of art, which is very humbling and surprising, but I'm glad she liked it as much as she did. And I had fun doing it and I learned some things from it. So if you haven't already seen, I talked quite a bit about the construction of that poncho in my last video. So that would be the September 2022 video if you want to have a look back there. And it was all sparkle yarn and that was fun. And there were some scraps left over and I got inspired by two things. First was a tutorial that was put out by the Stitch Session, so that's Karen, for a rectangular granny square, nope, let's say that again, a rectangular granny stitch scarf. And it's a beautiful scarf, so go have a look. The video tutorial will be linked in the description box, as will anybody who I ever talk about in this podcast, as well as any tutorials that I have for things I talk about. Always look in the description box, find that tiny little arrow, depending on what device you're on, and you'll see all the info there. Anyway, back to Karen. So it gave me a really good idea to try making one out of a similar style, which was a ma'am strip, mile a minute strip. And I've been making some of those and we'll talk about those in the whips in a little bit. But for now, here's another clip for you because this is also walked out the door. And here it is. Hey guys, just another little clip here because I'm not so sure this is still going to be around when I make my video. I made a Mighty Mile a Minute scarf, or shall I say a Mighty Mile a Minute slash modern granny scarf. I'll talk a little bit more about what led me to make this when I talk about my Mighty Mile a Minute kick I'm on. But yeah, I just wanted you to be able to see the scarf and I'll try to get a couple pictures too. Alrighty, back we go. That was also a gift for the birthday girl. I had already made her a camo hat a while back, so I thought she could have a little bit of bling to kind of coordinate with the camo hat that she already has, but also to make her feel like she has the poncho, even when she's not wearing the poncho. So that was just with some leftover yarns from the sparkly yarns I was using for the poncho. And I made it up as I went along, and now I'll talk a little bit more. I said I'd talk a little bit more about it with the ma'am strips. So here's what started all of this. Last year with Jayda InStitches Mighty Mile a Minute blanket, I learned and did all of the different stitches for the 12 months of 2021. But I also started to like making mile a minutes. It was my first year doing mile a minutes. And I did a full-size one, and I'll put a picture of that at the end. And I also did a baby blanket one. If I can find that, I'll also put a picture of that at the end. But I had this one random strip. And the reason I had this was because the big blanket I made was all color with black on the outside. But I messed up the number of sets of shells to do because I did this stitch count instead of the stitch count I was doing for the blanket, which was a bit bigger. So I always wanted to do something to go along with this because I love this green. This was a Craft Smart green that I've never been able to find since, so it's probably no longer a color, but I liked it a lot. It's very bright, but in a different sort of way. It's not limey, but you can see it's pulling up on camera just fine. But anyway, so I thought, okay, well, what if I try to keep all of my centers bright, but mix up my outsides? And I also want to do, like different outsides, not all the same, but maybe 2 of each. So these are the ones I've made so far. Those 2. And then these 2, and you can see that's a lighter brown, a medium brown maybe from Bernat Premium. And then I have 2 with Erin. And then so far, just 1 with this dark green on the outside. So sticking to trying to have really bright colors in the middle and then neutrals or darks on the outside. But so far, now that I'm kind of looking at it together, I don't know if this is going to end up being a bunch of different throws or 1 throw. So this is going to be yet another long-term whip, which is not a thing I usually do, but for some reason, the end of 2022 is turning into me having long-term whips. So we'll see how I like that for a while, and when I don't like it anymore, then I'll finish them. Anyway, back to the scarf. So when I did the scarf, there's a picture here. I just fiddled around with the stitches to go around the outside to have the width what I wanted, and I ended up doing more of a modern granny stitch for that instead of just a regular granny stitch continuing around the outside. And I liked how it looked, and I learned a couple of things. I went down a hook size after a round, I think. I took out a chain after one of the rounds just to keep it tight and flat. So if I ever do another one, if I have time to do another one at some point and I know more specifically what I did to make it work, I'll let you guys know. But the reason I used the mile a minute strip in the middle instead of just chaining for a rectangular granny is because I loathe working out of chains. It's my least favorite thing to do. On any pattern that you have to work out of a chain, if I can work out of single crochets instead, I'll do the extra row and go from there. I just don't like it. I find that the stitches are always stretching out and it bugs me. So I try not to do things that bug me. So I thought I'd try with the Mighty Mile a Minute strip in the middle, and I like how it turned out. And if I have time, I will definitely make those again because they do go pretty fast. Yeah, so if you have any questions about that, just let me know. And on to the next. So we'll keep going with some finished objects, even if they're finished objects that may turn into bigger finished objects. So we are about to find out if I have a clip of how I have expanded on my leftover scraps from this blanket here. Pop up a picture here of this corner to corner. This corner to corner blanket, I'm still putting these away in my beautiful bag from Debbie, the Canadian Crocheter. Anyway, this blanket I made corner to corner with all Bernat pop cakes, and then I have already let you know I started some grannies with little leftover scraps, and I found more yarn. So here is the clip if I have a clip. I think I do. Hey guys, just a little granny square update for you. These are my scraps from my cake pop corner to corner blanket I was working on, and I had shown you that I had come up with 42 squares of 3 round grannies, 2 rows in the middle, then 1, and now we've actually added a 4th, plus they've grown to 48 squares. I found a little bit more scraps when I was going through some scraps for another project. So we have some sets of 6, some sets of 8, all totaling up to be 48. And next up is ends on this round, so they all have 4 rounds now. And I'm gonna try and pick another color or a bunch of colors, I guess, to do the next round. But this is also gonna go on timeout for a bit because I got other things I gotta finish up. But It really only got attention in October because I found that extra Burn Not Pop scrap yarn that I wanted to make sure I used up. And then I was able to pull from my existing Burn Not Premium to find some other complementary colors to trim these in for now. So 48 4-round grannies. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Yeah, so now they each have an extra round on them. So it's a 2-round center, and then round 3, and then round 4. I think the extra leftovers I found were from my husband's Minecrafter throw / wall hanging I made him at the beginning of the year. I'll put a picture of that at the end of the video. So yeah, so now I get to move on to choosing some colors. We expanded from 42 granny squares to 48 granny squares. So because I started with 2 in the center and now I've done 1 and another 1, I want to do another round of 2. So what I'm going to do is try to divide the squares out and then pick a few different colors to have them get an extra 2 rounds. Pick a few different colors to have them get an extra 2 rounds. And then they might be big enough at that point that I can just put whatever color I'm going to choose to join this blanket in as one final round. I'll have to see when I get there. And again, that's another long-term whip. So it's both finished objects and a whip. Let me know if you have any questions. It's a beautiful day in Southern Ontario, Canada today. And earlier in the week, it was quite cold. Temperatures have been going all over the place. We'll talk about that when we get to the temperature blankets. But I was pulling out some of my fall winter clothes. And I had, this is take 3 on this project. This project was originally part of a hug shrug I made that ended up being way too big for me. So I took out some of the yarn and I kept some of it as more of a Mobius cowl that I can wear kind of over a winter coat when it's really cold. But some of the yarn was very complementary colors and I pulled it all out and made this super long scarf last year, way too long. And I kept playing with, well, should I keep it like that? Should I just deal, whatever? I decided to seam it up. So I pulled it out and you can't even really tell, but there is a seam there. The, what do they call that? Like the invisible join seam, where you're taking the outermost 2 loops, one on each side and all the way up. So whip stitching it that way though with those particular 2 loops. So it's still quite long. And then I just got to a point where I thought there's enough to like use it as a pull through spot. So I just left it like that and it's not bugging me too much. I think I'll get more aware of it this way. Also like the fact that for me, it will be more of a wrap size now because it's a bit wider, just for like if you're out and you've worn it as a scarf and then you want to be able to put it around your shoulders because they're chilly. And then I can show you a couple of different things it does. So if I just want to take one end and stick it through the other, I can go like this and just have it hang down. But even more cool, if I keep the short end right here, I can take the long end and go around and then just tuck it right in through here. And we kind of have like an instant cowl. So I'm really happy with that. I love the sparkle, I love these colors, and I know I'm gonna get much more wear out of it this way. So the message is, don't give up. It's yours. Make it the way you like it and the way you think you'll wear it the most. Any questions? Let me know. One more refinished object. This was just a very light shawl in a ball scrap type thing that I had made, and it ended where the brown is. Nope, I lied. It ended where the purple is. But I've added all this orange and then some single crochet rows and some purplish tones and then a final round and another earthy tone that happened to have some sparkle in it. So this is also a long scarf, but it's not as long as the other one. So it's good the way it is, sort of thing. And I can just give you a quick sneak peek this way of how I can wear it. And these are not really my colors, but it goes really well with certain things. I happen to have an orange sweater I like a lot, and I also have a camouflage like windbreaker type jacket that this type of pop of color, like what do you wear with camo? More camo? No, not necessarily, right? Black, maybe. But I like a little pop of color every once in a while. This still goes great with jeans, and you kind of got all your fall colors with a little bit of pop of color too. So again, just a little update on this guy in October. Finally, something brand new. This is yarn that was gifted to me by Priscilla at Distinctive Crochet in our yarn swap, and it is called Totally Tubular. And I made a cowl. This is kind of my crochet cowl for when I'm chilly, and it's already been in use. Let me just give you a little peek, just to go over my shoulders. keep my arms nice and free and be able to sit on the couch and crochet when it gets a little chilly. This was fun. I used a 15mm hook on it. I used up all three, they were actually Hanks. I didn't realize until I opened them that I was gifted. I was very careful and I was able to just pull them. Once I laid it open, I was able to just work right from it. This is very interesting yarn. Let me show you a little bit. I'm gonna put my poncho back on and then talk about the yarn. Just one sec. That's better. So we are back in the living room again today. It is breezy out and I have a fan on just so that I can keep this poncho on and not be too warm. It's kind of like right in between, too hot or too cold. Anyway, so it's bright. So if I lean too much forward, it's too bright. And if I lean back again, it's proper. It's better, I think, the lighting anyway. So I left this little strand of yarn here just so I could remember to talk about the yarn. So basically it has a very, very small nylon-y thing on the outside of it. And then I think it's just roving yarn on the inside, or unspun yarn, or whatever that technical term that all you spinners would know is. It was very interesting. And there's only a couple of spots where it, had gotten down to that point. I did have to snip it out once or twice in the 3 skeins, but it's very interesting. It's super soft. And yeah, I just wanted to use it all into one project. I wanted to make something for me. I love these colors. And all I did was, looking back, I'm pretty sure I have basically just half doubles and doubles in here, and I just increased where I wanted to so that it would come down over my shoulders, and I did some single crochets to keep it firmer at the very bottom. And that was it. This was just a wing it project completely, but it's great. It's great for crocheting on the couch. It's exactly what I wanted it for. Thanks, Priscilla. And here's another one. This yarn was gifted to me by Christa at Ricola's Crochet Corner, I think last year. It is the Lion brand Boogie Nights in the black. And the black, when they did the silver streamer, it almost has like a taupe silver to it. So there's an actual color of yarn and then silver on top. And because of that, you can get away with not having your stuffing shown. I am not in love with how I made this pumpkin, but I think pumpkins can be all different shapes and sizes. And I actually ripped it out from about 2/3 made all the way back and started again. I love that I put this on the top, and I'll show you why. We grabbed these at the dollar store this probably early September. I'm going into the light again. And I just wanted it inspired me actually to use this yarn and make this. And I used some sparkly sandy colored yarn there to go with. So yeah, I like to update my Halloween decor year over year, but very modestly, because I could go crazy on it if I really, really wanted to. But I just like to buy 1 or 2 things a year to have new things, and then let some of the older things move on to people who could use them instead. Anyway, it's a classic pumpkin design. I did not do the back loop thing because it was making the stitches pull way too open. And actually, the only reason I'm even getting away with it the way it is because the silver sparkle is hiding the holes that would show the stuffing. And some of them are substantial. And for the top, I just really kind of like winged it there and pulled it in and made one of these and a little curly Q. I also did that on the bottom, but it is what it is. I'm not in love with the shape of it, and I'm gonna live with it. I think it still looks nice and has a spot in my home with all the other Halloween things I've made over the years. So if you're gonna make a pumpkin, follow a good tutorial. That's my tip. Okay, let's try another finished object. How about the one the pumpkin's sitting on? This is my, oh, I should have said this one first. I forgot. This one, it was a whip as well last time, right? We've seen this a couple times now, but it's finally finished. And here's a picture of it lying on my king size bed. So this is my second stash gan. Not scrap, it was not scraps, it was skinny cakes, purposefully made. And it is 2 skinny cakes held double, a total of 4 skinny cakes. And I did actually pull in some extra scraps I had from the last one, and also a sweater that I had made way back in February. I had a little bit of scraps from that as well. I think I just started this one a bit wider than the first one I made, so the yarn didn't go quite as far. But yeah, I'm not doing any kind of measurements on these. I'm not chaining a certain amount. I'm just getting it as wide as I think two people would fit comfortably under it, and then going for the length of the yarn. So 4 skinny cakes in total, a lot of color controlling just to make it have a nice blend, and you can see it much better on my bed. It looks pretty good here too. They're kind of some muted pastel tones and some earthy tones as well. So there's a lot of gray in this blanket, and it really makes the colors be a little more subtle, I guess you could say. I love a marled blanket, I always will. And yeah, I was telling Crystal actually that even these two stash gans with a held double with just 3-weight yarn were still bothering my hands after a while, which is a little disappointing because I was really looking forward to try to use up some mystery balls I've made in December and just have like a mindless project going with a big scrap gan, because that one will be scraps. But we'll see. It's interesting how things, the arthritis acts up from time to time. Anyway, I've talked about this blanket 2 other times. This was an 8mm hook with 2 3-weight yarns held double. And if you have any questions, check back on the last 2 videos or leave me a message below. In the spirit of marbled blankets, here's a baby blanket for you. This is a traditional rectangular granny stitch blanket. I followed the start of this blanket with Jayda InStitches rectangular granny square. And this is, ooh, blowing out like crazy. I'll put pictures up as well, but this is Mandela, what do you call those? Mill end types, so there is no band on it. And they're in the colors of like pinks and purples and blues. There's a slight bit of green and yellow. It ombres itself out a little bit. And I just did a little scallop shell border on the ends. And I held it all double with a gray that is a Bernat Baby Sport Weight yarn. If I get it close enough, you can see. And it just really made the colors again kind of subtle. So the sun isn't helping us here, and I'll put up a picture of it either here or at the end, but it just tones them down slightly. And I think people like a lot of different styles of color now for their babies. I used a 7mm hook with this, with the 2 baby yarns held double. So I kind of like what it did. It gave it a little silvery tone to it. So it was simple, it was mindless, and it is a finished object from October. I did manage to make that one granny square I talked about last time with the rest of that yarn. This set also went to the birthday girls, so the hat, cowl, and fingerless gloves I showed last time, this is the rest of that yarn. This is a beautiful colorway from Hobby Lobby that I got in a swap from Rose at Rose Likes Crochet, and I would buy this yarn again in a heartbeat. I love how those colors mix together. And I'm just gonna start a little stash of variegated grannies and decide what to do them at a later date. No plans, just whenever I have some yarn that I think will, is enough to make up into one of these size. So how many rows did I do here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I do that a lot. Usually my 7th row is my last row, and it's the joining row, but on this one it'll obviously be the 8th. And yeah, 1 to start with, and we'll see how long it takes for me to get enough for a blanket of all different variegated yarns. And finally, I made some hats. I pulled out my chunky weight scrap bag, and I thought I'd see what was in there. And there was enough to make a few hats. It's weird because I'm not used to seeing those balls rolled up. That reminds me. Best tip ever. Christa at the Secret Yarnery was talking about this. So I grabbed some of those little baby barrettes, and look, it works great for your balls to make them not come unraveled. And sometimes you can even match it up. Anyway, the fact that I pulled that scrap bag out reminded me to show you. This is a great tip. I think Christa talked about this sometime in early September, I want to say. She said it came from another person in the comments. So great tip. I just ordered a bunch on Amazon, and just make sure you pull it nice and tight. You can know where the little end is, and it'll hold it nice and secure for you. So I had some chunky weight, not chunky weight, like mostly 6-weight super bulky, and a bit of 5-weight in a bag. And because I'm not really used to seeing that rolled up, I don't know how much of it it's going to take to make a hat. And I thought, well, maybe I have enough for a hat or 2 here. Well, I did. So I had enough in this colorway, which is a Bernat Softy Chunky Cake stripes, I believe, that I had the tail ends of. I'm pretty sure this came from Spin Right years ago. So the goal with these hats was to use up the yarn that was like colors. I'm gonna move my camera, 1 sec. The sun keeps coming closer and closer to me. I gotta hurry up. And so I was trying to do some funky crowns just to have some fun there and some open stitches. And then the goal was to use up the rest of the yarn in the cake. And you probably can't see too well on the camera, but this actually has the speckles of the blue and the red in it. So it will make a beautiful hat for somebody. I'm not gonna put these on right now. Like I said, we're gonna motor along here. I ended up having enough to make 3 hats in these other ones. This is also Softy Chunky in stripes that I got from Spin Right years ago. So there's one in this mostly browns and beiges, but the beige has the brown in it, so it looks really cool together as a neutral. And this tiny little guy, which was a lot of V-stitches. And this guy here, we started with an open crown again, and some shells and some different things, and then some doubles and some post stitches around the brim there. So those will all make nice hats. And I was going through my stash and I have a cowl, so I just have to pick, this one's too small, this has got to be for a small human, but I got to pick one of these 2 hats to go with the cowl I still have as a set. So it still makes a nice gift for somebody. And I was happy to basically use up all that yarn I had, bulky or super bulky yarn. And then I do have one really scrappy hat. So this, I just used the tail end of almost like a magic ball. So this is the idea of what a magic ball would do if you use it all together. And yeah, so that's a little small boy's hat, I would say. And it's got that soft Bernat Toasty on the bottom there. So it's nice to use that all up and get those made. So 5 hats in the month of October. I also got a little bit of happy mail. It's behind me there on the couch. A beautiful handmade card from Carrie Penny. I'm not going to take it down or I'll never get it put back up, but I love Halloween and she sent me a Halloween card and it made my day. Thank you, Carrie Penny. And we're moving on to whips. So how about I put the clip in here of the his and her sweaters that I'm making, and not nearly as far ahead as I had hoped to be, but hey, they're both started. So here we go. Hi guys. Just a little update on my hubby sweater. Back up a little bit for you. I like to use a shirt as a guide. In this case, I do have the body, but this is the back. So you can see I've split for the neck and started the second side, and let me flip them around. But before I do, I'll just show you that I'm on my 3rd color for what would be my granny square version of these celebratory sweaters. I get about 9 squares out of each skein of the yarn. And I'm going to trim them all in either a light gray heather charcoal, either a light gray heather or a dark charcoal. I haven't decided yet. Okay, now to the front. So that's the front. And you can see it's hanging a bit strange because of the hanger. The neck opening I chose is not the same as the neck opening on the hanger, so it's just making it a little bit off kilter. But just to give you an idea, so I just picked up the stitches. After I did some short rows for the back, I picked up the stitches with foundation double crochets, and we tried a couple of different lengths before I went for it, because he wants a nice trimmer on the bottom as well. So hopefully you will see 2 finished sweaters at the end of November. His and hers, if you will. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled programming. So here's the yarn right here. Whoa, as I almost drop it. Premier anti-pilling every day. So mine is going to be colorful. My husband's is going to be all one color. I think if I don't run out of yarn, if I run out of yarn on his, I'll have to use something for trims and cuffs and stuff like that. But he knows that, and we have options. And this is the 3rd skein I'm using for mine, like I said. So mine are just 5 round grannies. The 6th round is going to be the color that joins the whole sweater together. And I am using a 6mm hook for both sweaters. So those are going to have to get lots of love in November. So it's probably going to drastically reduce the amount of things I get done in November, but that's okay. And just while we're talking about anti-pilling yarn, let me show you my one acquisition thanks to Lisa at Lisa's Crochet. I decided to pull the trigger and try this Nako yarn. Nako Mona Lisa. So will always remind me of Lisa. That in her recommendation. Machine washable, and this is 100% a premium acrylic. And you can see right on the label it says it's anti-pilling. And I've decided that my strategy going forward is to select types of yarn that I think are stash worthy or yarnscape worthy. And for me, that's very much anti-pilling acrylic, and it's hard to come by in Canada. So these are on sale. They were, I don't know if they still are, they were $2.99 for a 100 gram skein from Mary Maxim. I also had free shipping, so that was yay. And I got those 3 colors to kind of go together. Again, they're blowing out a bit from the light of the lovely sunshine, but it's only the sort of lighter teal here, if you want to call it, or turquoise, that's blowing out a bit. The other 2 are pretty close to what they are. So I got those 3, and then I got these 3. Well, I'm gonna put that one last because I don't really know, but I got a true teal and a black, because I can't get enough of those 2 colors. And then I got this country blue. And the country blue would probably go fine with the other 3 that are more neutrals, but it's not quite as muted. So for me, it doesn't go quite as well, but there's options, right? So $2.99 for 100 grams, which is cheaper than what I had originally got the other anti-pilling yarn that I was just showing you for the sweaters. A year ago, I guess 2021-ish, I was collecting that anti-pilling in different sales I found. But yeah, so I'm happy with that, and I'm happy to know that Lisa recommended it. So and it's super soft. I would say it's even a smidge softer. The stats are fairly similar. I can tell you if you like. So, because I still have this one here. So for the Premier Anti-Pilling Everyday Metally, like new, wash after wash, for 100 grams, 3.5 ounces, it's 200 meters and 219 yards. And for 100 grams of the NACO, it is 172 meters. So it's only giving you metric. And yeah, so comparatively, 100 grams of this is 200 meters, and 100 grams of this is 172 meters. So if I'm doing my math right, that means this one's slightly thicker. Yeah, less yardage, right? So anyway, we'll see. It's super soft, and as long as it's actually anti-pilling, we'll see what happens. And last but not least, it's temperature blanket time. Let's start with the low temps this time. The temperature was all over the place in October, especially when you're only looking at it weekly. But it was warmer more than colder. So there's a big variety, and I have teal, coral. I made it back to my blue, my light blue that's usually in the winter colors. This represents, I think, 0 to 3 degrees. My clay color, and I used the teal to represent the extra week because it was mostly the average of the lows. And this thing is getting to be a nice size. I'm super excited. So I'm sitting on the couch, and it comes down to my feet and up to my chin. And I got 2 months to go, so that's perfect. And this is the width. And if you want to know more details about this blanket, I've been talking about it since January, so you can check back, and there's always links in the description box. I will talk about it in full in December, just to wrap it all up with the concept and all of that. And here is my high one. Difference between these 2 that I did is that my lows only have 1 divider row, and my highs have 2. So this one's going to naturally be 12 rows longer. And here is the colors we have for October. So we have teal, we have spring green, clay, we have peony pink, and we have coral, and my 2 extra rows. And again, feet on the floor. This one's much longer. Come on, where are you? And it already comes up to about there. And I got 2 months to go. Nice and wide and colorful. And yeah, so temperature blankets are definitely coming along. I think that basically wraps us up for October. As always, I love to hear from you in the comments below. If you have any questions or just want to say hi or tell me what you are working on, I especially love hearing about that. And yeah, so November we are celebrating an anniversary. Hopefully we will have his and her sweaters as a memento of the anniversary, and we'll have some time off at a certain point in November. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Halloween and fall. I love fall. Fall's my favorite season. So I hope I haven't forgotten anything. Thank you for spending this time with me. Have a great day and happy crochet. Bye for now. bye.